Okay, week 2 of Dr. Chakalingham's class on biological aging. I would love to turn this over to you.
Hello, everyone. Good morning to our friends in the US. Good evening to people from India. Thanks so much, Jennifer and Heidi, for giving me this opportunity to connect with the amazing people through Osher. Today's discussion on biological aging will focus a little bit on how we can directly, right away, make differences in the aging process. And it's so exciting what I learned in the last 5 years from so many of my patient encounters, again, with such interesting, enthusiastic, and trusting patients who came back and showed me that, doc, we can fix our heart and at the same time reverse our aging itself. So they are the reason we have this course. So I can't thank our friends and patients enough for where we are today. Before we go on to the slides, again, we'll have plenty of time for discussion and question answers after the slides. But even before, I'd like to open it up for any questions people might have from last week, because last week's discussion was totally new to me also. I had spent a lot of time and created that material for last week's session. So I can pull that up and we can go over any questions you have or what you might have done in the last 1 week since we met. If you already started trying some ways of self-inquiry or whatever tools you're exploring in your own personal lives, if you would like to share with us your explorations, your challenges, this would be a good time to get these discussions going so that we can have an idea of what to focus on through the day today. Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. I'll open it up for anybody to share their thoughts.
And I will remind you that you can go ahead and unmute. Let me double check that I've set it as such. Yes, so you're welcome to unmute and answer Dr. Chakalingham's questions. And I did put in the chat, if you are open to turning on your camera, please do it. Dr. Chakalingham loves to see his students. Thank you. But of course, it's not required.
Well, I ordered your book and have received it. However, I've not read it yet, but that's next on my agenda, is to read your book.
I would love to hear your thoughts on it next week once you've had a chance to read it. It's only about 30 to 60 minutes, and it doesn't tell us what to eat and how many calories every day we can take, or it's not a food book. It's a book about how to use our own intuition and our connection with food to better turn our attention inwards. So I would love to hear your thoughts, Marcia. Anything else you have done, Marcia, in the last 1 week? After last week's discussion, did it make you try anything different?
Not really. I've already been walking almost every day, so I continued with that, and I try to watch what I eat. So I haven't changed a whole lot otherwise.
Excellent, excellent.
Marcia, where did you purchase the book?
Amazon.
Okay. Where else can we get it, Dr. Chakalingham?
It's self-published on Amazon, so that's the only place I know. It's
Okay.
both as a regular book and as an ebook. Both are available there. And
Okay.
Columbia Library, I know, has a few copies.
Okay, thank you.
My mom has joined from India. I don't know if she's going to be able to say hi to our group. Maybe she'll say it later whenever she gets. You have to unmute yourself, Ma.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You'll have to introduce yourself. People don't know who you are.
I'm Anand's mom. Jennifer, how are you?
I'm well. It's really nice to see you. Thank you for asking.
Usually my husband does a lot talking. Yeah. Now he may join or may not. I cannot tell. He's in the clinic. I'm happy to see you all. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Nice you joined us, Mom. My mom is a physician. She's a retired pathologist. And she visits us whenever she gets a chance in the US. And I'm glad I could connect with her through Jennifer today.
Thank you.
We can go to the slides and then come back to a discussion. I was expecting a lot of discussions today before we go on to the slides.
You know, it's Monday morning, 9:41 Monday morning. So we'll give everyone, I think, yeah, maybe going to the slides will be good to kind of spark to everyone's and wake them up. I know I need some waking up.
Okay, before we go to the slides, let me show a video if I can.
I just made you a co-host, Dr. Chucklingham, in case
Okay.
you weren't before.
So I have to go to share screen.
Yes, and please make sure you share your computer audio as well. Do you remember how to do that?
Let's find
Why don't you stop your screen share? We can see your email.
Yeah,
So when you click this share screen button and that first window opens, make sure that you share the sound. It's at the very bottom left usually, so that we can hear the video in case
share
it does.
sound.
Yeah.
Optimize video clip.
Yeah, we could try it. Let's try it. And we'll ask you to turn off the optimization once you get back to your regular slides. I know that seems odd, but sometimes it messes with things.
Now, do you see what I'm showing here?
Yeah, it looks
Full
good.
screen. Okay. So this is an opportunity we had in Colombia this week when we had a visiting professor, Kathleen Wolf from Washington University, who came all the way from the West Coast to be with us and teach us how we can experience nature on a more direct way towards our own health. So this is a video that I just got from the internet. So that introduces this concept of Shinrin Yoku.
Feeling stressed out. If you sometimes wonder if you are feeling stressed out, if you sometimes wonder if you are becoming addicted to the electronic screens in your life, or if you're just too busy to catch up with yourself, there's a simple cure. It's called Shinrin Yoku. The instructions are simple. Go to a forested area and wander. You could even go to a park. Follow a trail. Smell the aromas of the trees and shrubs. Listen to the water of the streams. The Japanese have a long tradition of living harmoniously with nature. The term Shinrin Yoku comes from Japan. It means forest bathing. Think of it as bathing in the full experience of the forest, engaging all your senses, letting the sights, sounds, aromas, and sensations wash over you. It sounds simple, and it is, but the results are impressive. Researchers have found immediate and dramatic effects from even 15 minutes of wandering through a forest in the Shinrin Yoku way. Blood pressure drops, stress levels are reduced, concentration and mental clarity improve, and the specialized cells that the body produces to prevent and combat cancer flourish. Besides walking, Shinrin Yoku also includes taking time to simply sit. As you do, your mind naturally settles down, returning from a state of busyness to a quieter, more restful state. Too simple? Try it out and see. Here are a few guidelines. Go untethered. Leave your cell phone. Don't take a camera or other distractions. Leave your goals behind also. Allow yourself to wander. Pause from time to time to see if your body feels pulled in any particular direction. When you sit, be quiet and still. See how the behavior of the birds and other forest life changes after they become used to your presence. If you go with others, make an agreement to refrain from conversation. You can gather at the end of your walk and share your stories. In the hours after you complete your walk, notice any lasting effects. Ask yourself, do the benefits justify the effort it takes to get outside? We think you'll find it's well worth your time. Give yourself some love. Get outside and enjoy nature the Shinrin-yoku way.
Now, Dr. Chakalingam, next time you share the screen, you can go ahead and uncheck the box for optimized video. Thank you.
Excellent. So the audio, everything turned out okay?
Yeah, we could see and hear it very well. And you can keep share computer audio on. All that means is we'll hear any sounds that your computer makes, but that's not a big deal.
Excellent. So this is what we got to experience with Dr. Kathleen Wolf, environmental scientist, this weekend. And it's something that we do anyways, go out on the trails. But this experience of deliberately trying to pay attention was very nice. So I went back to the same area and spent some more time with my children and my wife. So they also sort of got a taste of Shinrin-yoku. And I just wish our children who are now 20 and 12 will continue to connect with nature on their own rather than waiting for being forced or encouraged by their parents. So I think this is a very direct and intuitive way of connecting with ourselves. That is what I was so thrilled to experience it from someone who's done this all over the world. I've got my own slide set, which we can start going through unless people want to talk about anything at all about the mindfulness aspects or biological aging or whatever thoughts you might have that we would like to discuss. Did you like this video? Have anybody tried Shinrin-yoku before? If you have, we'd love to hear your thoughts on it. If you're going to talk, please unmute yourself.
I've not tried the Shinrin-yoku, but I've taken walks through the forest, or we live out in the county, just out in the county, and just to listen to the sounds and watch the wildlife, because we have quite a bit out here, and just look at some of the vegetation that's changing with the seasons. I didn't know there was a real name for that. I thought it was just a walk in the woods.
Thanks so much. Yes.
Last week, one day, I went to Grindstone Nature area and walked. I have to admit, I took my phone with me because I wanted to take some pictures. I had a really good walking buddy who moved away, and we used to go to Grindstone quite a bit. So I wanted to send her some pictures, but it was really fun. I just wandered. I went down some paths that I'd never gone on before and hoped I didn't get lost. We've also gotten lost there before, but that's a different story. But anyway, it was really relaxing and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and we'll go back again.
Excellent. Anyone else? Doesn't have to have been called Shinrin-yoku. It's just the Japanese, they call it that. So who else does similar, who has any similar experiences where they go in with their challenges and come back a little refreshed from being in nature? Who takes to nature when they are stressed specifically? Someone wants to talk, you could unmute yourself. I think people are trying to talk without unmuting.
I want to talk about that. Just last night, I've been away from my fairly regular walk around the neighborhood. You can do a square mile where I live. And even though there are homes along the way, we're an isolated part of what is rapidly becoming many homes in Southwest Columbia. And so I went out and I needed the exercise. It's been a while, but I came back. I was surprised how quickly I could do it. And I wasn't trying to make time, but I did time myself. And I thought, oh, good. At 85, I'm doing okay. But, but I can't tell you the difference it made in my evening, because I did it after the rain fell here and before the sun came out. So it was cooler. And that's been part of my walking problem. It's just been too hot. And I am not an early riser. So, but I have felt the effects before. And I'm lucky enough to have a small home on a lake in Minnesota where I was last month. And I can't tell you what that did for me. I was alone. I used to have my husband with me, but I was alone. And I can't believe how quiet life can be when there are no boats. It's very unlike the Lake of the Ozarks where I am. And so what you've been preaching or telling us about works, I find. I would go out and sit on a bench on the dock and just sit. And it's amazing what that can do for one when we're so surrounded by folks. And that that's both a blessing and the curse of modern civilization, because I need people too. And I don't know what other people feel, but I'm happy to be here to confirm what you've been telling us. I'll quit now.
Thanks so much for that personal and very encouraging, inspiring experience that you shared. And I also personally feel the same way. I feel so much more energized when I go on the MKT trail or hiking in the woods. And only this week I learned for this type of Shinrin-yoku forest bathing experience, you can be in the middle of a big high downtown of a big city, and just one tree alone is sufficient just to be with nature. So you don't have to be in the middle of a huge Amazon forest. Just in our own neighborhood, we can find some place where we can find that connection with ourselves through nature. And we would love to visit your lake home sometime.
Oh, that involves work. But I welcome. I've had relatives and children and my grandchildren's friends and while I was there. So it was a nice combination.
You're teaching the children and grandchildren also how to connect back with nature, because they are the ones who grow up in that much more of a internet era and information era where it's just so natural for them to all the time be on some device or the other. And connecting with nature is, I think, such a crucial aspect for their future health also. Any other comments, discussion points? Okay, so we'll go ahead with some slides and then open it up again. So for about 20 minutes or so for the slides, we'll just keep going. And then after that, we'll have discussions. I'm going to request everyone to try and mute yourself if you can. So I'm hoping you're able to see the slide full screen.
Looks great, Dr. Chakalingam.
Hello, friends. So today's discussion is on the role of mindfulness and Siddha self-inquiry towards biological aging. Disclosures are highlifejourney.org, which is our website, and Seeking Hunger, which is a book and trying to encourage self-inquiry. Last week, we covered biological aging, what the latest DNA epigenetics and aging quantification methods can do towards individual self-assessment as well as what habits might give us the best chance of staying healthy and even reversing our biological age. Today, we'll talk about the role of mindfulness in general. Next week, we'll talk about flow and how we find it so beneficial in helping people connect with themselves. And finally, we'll put all of this together. So this is what I feel is the challenge. When we look at mortality, which is risk for life, having a low body weight seems to have high risk. The risk minimizes at normal weight, and then beyond overweight, it significantly starts climbing up again. So when a person's BMI exceeds 35, they're at a significant risk for life itself, not only heart problems, but arthritis and mental health issues and increasing biological aging also by DNA measurements. So we want to reduce mortality and risk for health issues by optimizing an individual's age. Science seems to think that from say 30 to 20, there may not be that big a difference, but from 35 to 25, there may be a much more beneficial effect. This is what some of the studies are suggesting, but it doesn't, in my opinion, matter exactly where we are in this curve. Our self-inquiry methods does not require us to be excess weight or a particular BMI. All of us can do it, but obviously if the BMI is below 22, then we have to be extremely careful that we don't lose weight unintentionally, because below that weight can sometimes be a problem. But for people with just like 75 to 80% of the United States population are dealing with either overweight or higher levels of weight in their body, our methods would be very reasonably tolerable, especially if they are not having any liver issues or type 1 diabetes or things like that. Okay. So this is what we are seeing in a very interesting study that looked at giving prepared food and regular exercise for 20 weeks. The exercise group and the diet group, when you combine, the benefit of weight reduction was even further. And in this study, they were able to show in people with excess weight related stiff hearts, they are doing better. But again, this is a very specialized population, and it involved prepared food being given. It's not like we intuitively eat what we have had for food all our life. So this was a very different type of thing, but this is how research is done. This is the only literature we have, but the evidence is towards significant weight reduction, which means about 10% weight reduction was achieved with diet and exercise. And diet alone had better benefit than exercise alone. So this gives me insight that with the current evidence base, we are in the right direction towards helping our heart patients intuitively regain their health. And this is data from BioAge, epigenetic age determination that we discussed last week, that diet quality plays the most important role in reducing age. Smoking adds age. And this also we saw as far as various pills that are being evaluated, but not yet in routine prescription for biological aging. But we do know for sure that avoiding alcohol and cigarettes is very important. About 150 minutes of exercise a week is very important. Reducing excess salt in the diet, adding more fruits, vegetables, salads, that's really good. And minimizing the need or usage of fast foods and sugar-added substances, red meat would be beneficial in reducing biological aging. Now we go back thousands and thousands of years to look at human lifespan. It's been varying a little bit, but by and large, about 25 to 35 years has been our lifespan until very, very recently. Only in the last 100 or 200 years, we've seen a dramatic increase in human lifespan from averaging of about 30, 40 years to now doubling to 70, 80, 90 years. So this is very, very new to the entire human experience. But what I feel is even more important for us to recognize is in today's day and age, there are several blue zones where we have known in the last few hundred years, at least, people have shown that entire societies, people, the entire population are living on average 10 to 15 years more than the latest evidence-based Western medical systems healthcare is offering. And these blue zones are located in remote areas in Japan, Okinawa, in Italy, Sardinia Island, Costa Rica, and such remote places. People are able to survive longer because of several factors, but they have reached 100 years already. And the same thing can be said about yogis and practitioners of ancient traditional integrative systems, but this cannot be said for the entire population. The Siddha Yogi method works for those who practice life like that. But for them, they've shown for several thousand years. That's why I drew this line much lower. For 5,000 years, they've been saying that people can make a choice. Not one choice, several lifestyle choices are involved, but people can make that for themselves, and they find that they are naturally living very energetic, healthy lives to 100 and much beyond 100 years also. So that tradition still continues in southern India in Siddha Yogis. And this is the story of Marilyn, who's not able to join us today. Hopefully she'll be with us next week, where we discussed her biological age is 80. I'm sorry, her chronological age is 80, but biologically she has reversed 20 years. And this is what we have found, that she has reversed her heart failure at the same time. We discussed this last week. And this is because of losing close to 15 to 20% of her weight this last few months, and doing it in the mindful meditative practice that we teach called Hunger Gratitude Experience. This is another lecture that I attended this week. It's a very important concept that is being researched by Dr. Mittendorfer, who is a well-recognized researcher in Washington University in St. Louis. So she visited Colombia, and this is a slide from her presentation where she is looking at protein intake. When more and more protein is consumed as part of our diet, it seems to be increasing our risk for diabetes and mortality. We think of protein as very healthy, but here we are seeing actual evidence that in fact it may be the opposite. This is another slide from her presentation where experimental models are showing significant weight reduction, which is supposed to improve insulin sensitivity and reduce diabetes medication requirement and insulin requirement. But for people on high protein diet, they are not improving their insulin sensitivity. So this is another specific concern that too much protein may not be the right thing for all of us. So this is another slide that looks at excess weight and how it affects intracellular mechanisms, genetic telomere lengthening, and oxidative stress, and what is called a cellular senescence, a rapid aging of cells, and affecting stem cell vitality. All these methods may contribute to increasing our biological aging just because of the excess weight that we are carrying in our body. And now we have evidence that not only children and young adults, even all the way into our old age, we might still have the choice of giving away the excess weight safely if we do it the right way. I want to share with you a very interesting concept. What I'm showing you here is risk for our life. One being normal. So anything below this, on the left of this line, reduces our risk based on the specific food choices. And anything more than one means a 20%, 50% increase in risk for our health based on food choices that we are making. So this is on the right side is increasing risk for our heart health, and on the left side is reducing our risk. On the y-axis, what we are showing is exponential risk for the environment based on the food choices that we make. One being the lowest impact that a food choice can make for us, and 100 times would be the magnitude of environmental burden that we are placing on the environment. Say, for instance, there is a math that says if we can make a plant-based choice instead of a red meat-based fancy dinner in one evening in a restaurant, that saves so much greenhouse gases that we can choose to get on our car and drive all the way from Los Angeles to New York. That's the math that I found very fascinating. Just one evening meals choice gives us the same equivalent of having a road trip across the country. So that is why this 100 times. And what you see up here very closely correlates with being unhealthy for our inner nature as well as our external environment. Unprocessed red meat, processed red meat, and if you look at chicken and fish, they have much lesser environmental impact, and they are actually not increasing our risk also for heart disease or health. But then when we come to the greener foods, then we are moving towards foods that are, say, for instance, grains. They are so much safer for our health, but then whole grains are actually reducing our risk for heart problems. Fruits, vegetables, they are the least impact on the environment, and they are able to give us the best shot at individual health as well. So this we did last time through OSHER, what we call the climate anxiety is the stress of climate change, and climate action is our self-inquiry based empowering ourselves towards making the best change that we can be in our lifetime. So for instance, if we are driving, we can explore ways of carpooling and minimizing our daily trips, and then biking to work rather than taking the car if we can. And then if we can have a choice of working from home, all these things are towards reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And again, today you just saw how food can play a big role. So we will be helping our own health as well as our environment if we make more and more plant-based food choices. And if we can get food that is locally grown, then the food has less need to travel large distances to get to us. So that also reduces greenhouse emissions. Seasonal food choices and minimizing food wastage. Then when we pick it up at the grocery store, or how we manage our refrigerator to minimize wastage. So that is the choices that we can make on a daily basis. And as far as energy consumption, in the summer, allowing the temperature at our home to go a little higher. In the winter, accepting a little less cooling at our home may make a huge difference. And if we can travel for work and leisure together at the same time, that makes a lot of sense. Minimalistic lifestyles, there is so much you can find online, and there are hundreds of books written on this. It's just a way of saying, I will buy things that I need. If I don't absolutely need it right this minute, I might choose not to upgrade my phone every year, or whatever little choices that we make that is environmentally healthy at the same time. And then the self-inquiry that we teach in the next couple of weeks that you're going to learn is all part of this same concept, where we are helping our health while at the same time improving our carbon footprint and encouraging our next generations, children and grandchildren, also towards living more holistic lives.
Dr. Chakalingam,
Yes.
you do have one question in the chat. Do you have your chat open?
Shall we do that at the end of the presentation?
Sure. Do you want to wait?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
So this is the slide that you sort of saw already, that processed meat, red meat has environmental impact. And when we make better food choices, we are significantly reducing the impact on our health and in environment's health as well. And then this is, again, depending on what type of diet we have, our impact on environment is shown here. So this we already discussed, our own BMI plus age. If it exceeds 100, then we are at risk for the heart getting stiffer. And this equation works until the age of about 65. And this story we already saw in Marilyn Lake, but now this is a different person. Yeah. His story is, in 2020, he felt like he was 80. His BMI was 45. But within 1 or 2 years, he is biologically reporting that he is feeling 35 years younger. And his BMI has dropped from 45 to 35. So is it all attributed to the BMI? Most of it might be. But the practice of this mindfulness for 2 years, I believe, had a lot of, I would estimate about 30 to 40% of the role of reversing his age came from the mindfulness practice itself. That's my guess of taking care of him for the last 2 years. This is a slide. In the x-axis, you're seeing time. The y-axis is weight, which was 157 excuse me, kilograms, has now dropped to 145. And this happened within the first 3-4 months, where his heart squeeze got better, his kidney function got better. He reports already feeling like he was much younger. He's fasting, and 20 hours he would go without food 2 times in a week. This is more than I asked of him, but his actual age was only 65. So he reported feeling like 80-year-old, and now he's reporting feeling like he's in his 50s. And this is the same person. Now, from the weight of 157, he's down in 2022 all the way to 122 kilograms. So this is a total weight loss of 22% of his entire weight without any surgery or any weight loss pills. It's only through smiling and through eating right. We are estimating that
You okay, Dr. Chuckalingham?
I'm okay. I'm
Okay.
recovering from a viral infection that's not easy to shake off.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Will you go back to the slides? I'm going to request everyone to mute yourself. So there are some questions which we could answer, I guess. How do we define high protein? How many grams per day? Yes, we'll have a high protein means more than 0.8 or 1 gram per kg per day. So kids who are trying to build muscle, like my son who is now 20, they really think being macho is the important thing in college. So they're trying to find as much protein as they can. And I've been encouraging them to cut back on animal proteins and try to encourage him to take more and more plant-based options. Then next question is, why are eggs not so good while chicken is good? All these are studies that are done. So egg has a lot of egg yolk, which is a high content of fat, and chicken itself may not have that much. That's my guess. How do you measure heart squeeze and elasticity? The answer to measuring heart squeeze is echocardiogram. That itself gives us a very good assessment. And based on the heart size and stiffness and atrial size and pressure in the lungs, we are able to gauge that. And for some people, when we are wanting to specifically measure excess weight related heart stiffness, we have to get them on the treadmill. And on the treadmill, we can again measure all these parameters and see how far they're able to go. And at the end of exercise, how their heart is holding up. Excellent questions. We are going to get back to the slides, shall we? Unless people have anything else, if you want to unmute yourself and ask questions also, we can discuss. No? More slides? Okay, let me find that. Do you see the slide full screen?
We do, Dr. Chocolate.
Okay, super. So this is a very, very new paper that looks at heart failure. And what they are saying is the cost of caring for heart failure in any individual patient is $30,000 every year. Of that, nearly half or even more is due to hospitalizations and long-term care. So heart failure is a big challenge in our society. Drugs themselves are only about 10%. Diagnostic tests are less than 10%. So avoiding hospitalization for heart failure patients can be such a huge cost saving for the individual and for the society. And these are the breakup of various medications that are shown to benefit in heart failure. And if we can reduce the cost of heart failure care, then we want to do that. So we discussed the role of biological aging measured by genes, the role of the mind, and body weight and exercise. Is there some other factor that we can tap into that will intuitively help us move forward? And today we discussed Shinrin Yoku, the Japanese forest bathing. And in the same presentation, Dr. Catherine Wolf came up with this various studies that are prescribing exercise. I'm sorry, in time in nature towards reducing stress, 20 to 30 minutes. And then for reducing blood pressure, at least 30 minutes a week, spending time in nature. And then for depression, best would be 3 to 5 visits to a garden a week would reduce our risk of depression and treat it better. And to improve our optimism and sense of well-being, 120 minutes per week of being in nature is so important. And the best thing about Shinrin Yoku or our just experience with nature is the deliberate attention towards that connection of nature and with ourselves. This is not requiring significant physical exercise. So that is the best part. And why am I so excited about that, being a cardiologist? Because many of my heart patients are not finding it easy to just get up on the treadmill and walk, run for half an hour. So for people with health issues, comorbidities, and with heart failure, this is so intuitive and simple that they just make a deliberate attempt to spend time in nature. Unless there is extreme harsh weather outside, if we have appropriate clothing, we might be able to spend this type of time in nature to get our health better. So this is Dr. Catherine Wolf, who visited from the West Coast and who took us on this forest bathing. And this is that Shinrin Yoku method. So when we find that less is more, then we are empowering ourselves directly. And this is what is, I believe, the true essence of the Siddha tradition. Siddha was not even in this list of various holistic integrative medical practices. So what I did is I just added it to this slide that I got from the internet. But here you see several complementary and integrative medicine practices that are available in various parts of the world. And they date back several hundred years. When you go back to thousands of years, you see Greek and Chinese, Egyptian, and Ayurveda. But we have written Siddha medical texts that date back 5,000 years. It's just that although I come from the southern part of India, I was not aware of much of this until last 5 years. It's just things that we are not paying our attention towards because I trained in the Western system, and only now I'm paying more attention. So the way we request people to try this Siddha self-inquiry is not through learning more. I'm showing these slides, but this is to encourage you to turn your attention inwards. All our knowledge grows with time, accumulates over generations, is the reason for all the power and material success of human society. And this is based on our ability to learn, acquire skills, and become comfortable and develop habits that allow us to succeed in life. Self-inquiry, whereas in several ways is the opposite. It requires the willingness to unlearn. It is non-transferable. I cannot pass it on to my children or grandchildren. Forget about that. I cannot pass it on to myself tomorrow morning. So if I wake up tomorrow, I have to practice self-inquiry if I want to be happy and fulfilled. If I want to have the resilience to embrace whatever new challenges every day throws to us. So that is that self-inquiry. And I feel we can practice enough self-inquiry through Shinrin Yoku, or through hunger, gratitude, fasting that we teach, or 100 different ways through our own life, and build that resilience at any point and every point in our day-to-day living. The simple construct is everything that we know about ourselves is in the conscious 10%, where our willpower, thinking, and logic reside. But there is a barrier that separates us from the 90% of who we are at the subconscious level. There are things like emotions, values, and habits which are at the subconscious level, but my focus is really at the heart of consciousness itself, where gratitude and our intuitive creativity reside. So when we connect with these two things, then we are really experiencing the self-inquiry benefits. And the way to do that has been through practicing formal mindfulness, gratitude, connecting with people genuinely, creativity, learning sports and exercise, practicing the flow which we are going to discuss for a whole hour next week, fasting, ikigai, and ikigai is having meaning in life, and practicing silence. So what we've done through this High Life program is first connected with our individual patients' needs, hopes, dreams at the subconscious level, talk to them and figure it out, and then work with their mind, their strengths and weaknesses, their body, their physical limitations, and their ability to exercise. Exercise itself, what we teach, and diet plays such a huge role. Connecting and doing this in a sustainable way require friends, family, their grandchild who has turned vegan recently, whatever it is. We need this to be sustainable. And once people start seeing the benefit of this, then that becomes their intuitive inner nature. And this becomes a positive awareness-based feedback cycle that people are able to continue to engage in. So at the beginning, where we are with our health, once we turn our attention inwards and change our lifestyle through behavioral aspects, then it becomes more sustainable. When we change our motivation, it becomes much more sustainable. And then when we go to the realm of finding meaning and ikigai through this practice, then there is no limit to how much change that can happen in our own lifestyle. So before we close off, I leave you with one of these ancient Siddha poems. When we talk about self-inquiry, I found this very, very simple and powerful. Andam surungil adarkor azhivillai, pindam surungil pranam nillai, padum undi surungil ubayam palapala, kandam karutta kabaliyamame. Tirumular says, while outlining this 5,000 year Siddha tradition, that turn your attention inwards, yourself awakens. Losing excess weight in the body, we can live to 100 years. Eating less food after you came to an ideal weight, then the benefits are way too many. So even normal weighing people, when they limit the food intake, it detoxifies the body, allows us to move through life better, and elevates consciousness specifically. So this is what is the direct practice that the Siddha yogis have been doing, and showing that people can live 100 years easily and healthily. But society has sort of said, oh, it's meant for those saints, it's not meant for common people. But it is possible for all of us to tap into these things, because society is now not living 30 or 40 years. We are seeing average lifespan of 70 to 85, 90 years already. So it's not just important for us to find these tools so that when we are growing older, that we stay as healthy and productive as we can be potentially. So the world is in very safe hands, which is your own. Thanks so much. We have like half an hour to discuss any questions you have about what we just discussed. I just wanted you to have more and more taste of the mindfulness and biological aging and how they are all connected. Please unmute yourself and ask your questions.
What is an ideal body mass index?
I come from India. For me, unfortunately, it is 22. For the US, it is 25. For most of the world, it is less than 25. Why for India alone, it has to be 23 or lesser? It's because for South Asian countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, the risk for heart attack is so much higher. The risk for diabetes is so much higher. So the BMI you can easily calculate online. It's available on the computer. So if you plug in your height and weight, it'll tell you what your BMI is.
Thank you.
Dr. Chuckalingham, did you already see Debbie Rogers' comment in the chat?
Is it possible that genetics are involved in dietary requirement? Definitely. My friend regulates his blood sugar by balancing proteins. It lowers his blood sugar to have some animal proteins frequently daily. Okay. So there is this concept that's been around for several decades about eating mostly ketogenic diets, which are less in carbs, that are helpful in controlling diabetes and losing weight. Several top universities are promoting it too. But as a cardiologist, I would discourage taking more of animal-based protein or olive oil itself for the sake of adding fat to your diet. And olive oil is the healthiest oil, but even that, my belief is if you need oil for your food, you have it. But oil itself is not helping our heart healthier. No. That is my understanding of looking at all this literature. And the slides on relative risk of mortality, list SSBs, the sugar substituted beverages, I think. So a lot of drinks, except tap water, lot of drinks that come in sodas and even fruit juices or energy drinks, they are all having extra sugar added to them. Too much extra sugar a lot of times. So by minimizing that, we will be doing our body a huge favor. So that's what it is. Okay. Glad you brought that up. What are the cancer preventive substances that increase with mindfulness and time in nature? Excellent. I'll try to answer this next week. I'm not too sure. I think they're talking about NK cells, natural killer cells. These are immune cells. The body has ongoing so much things happening as far as our body is made up of so many millions of bacteria, viruses are part of our nature. in our gut they are residing. So like that, even cancer cells are happening again and again every day. But we don't become cancer patient because our immunity is able to fight it off. Same thing with blockages in the heart. Nature has a little bit of thrombus developing throughout, and the clot is being cleared out by nature again and again. So these balances, checks and balances are playing a role every day, 24/7 in our body. So when certain chemicals go up, it seems to improve our chances of fighting away unhealthy trends, antioxidants, cancer risk, atherosclerosis, and thrombosis risk. So for that, your best bet with the time in nature and mindfulness would come from how do you measure it, I guess is what you're asking. Blood pressure would be a good thing if the blood pressure is coming towards normal. And weight, if your weight comes down, that means your stress levels are down, your eating is healthier. And over a few months, you will see that. Within days, you might see improvement in high sensitivity C-reactive protein. That's a blood test. And that measures inflammation. I believe that inflammation is such a huge role in heart failure patients. So it doesn't have to be heart failure at all. In people with healthy hearts going around working, if the high sensitivity CRP can be reduced through mindfulness or Shinrin Yoku or being time in nature, then it's very, very worthwhile. And then we teach this natural ketosis through hunger, gratitude. And that's what you saw two people today. One is our Osher participant, Marilyn Lake, who will be here next week. And she is doing this hunger gratitude. So at 80, she's showing us that intuitively eating and being a little hungry is creating ketosis. So if you measure your serum ketone levels and you can show that it's increasing through plant-based food and through smiling, then you're doing the right thing. She has not been measuring her ketone levels. I've not asked people to do that in the last 10 years that we've been teaching this method. But if people are interested in measuring something, then it is serum ketone levels when you're intuitively smiling, energetic, and fasting. The reason I put those things in the same sentence is the same ketone can mean dangerous levels of poor control of diabetes. So when you're comfortable and doing it intuitively, it's a sign of health. But if your ketone level is high in the real world, many people be in the hospital with ketoacidosis from diabetes. So for diabetics, we don't recommend fasting, but I'm just saying. So the ketone is a sign of health in our program. Okay. And another thing which I haven't even measured even in a single patient is what we call brain-derived neurotrophic factor. I've been doing some research on why our intuitive self-inquiry methods are so helpful in taking away 25 medicines. Because as a cardiologist, I only added 5. I can come get a patient off those, but what about the other 20 that they come off? Many of them are arthritis stuff and diabetes and blood pressure medicines, but also they're coming off mental health medicines, many medicines. So for that brain-derived neurotrophic factor may play a big role. And I haven't checked it in anybody, but if that level goes up, that's a sign that the brain is regenerating. So we can start testing that. If somebody has the luxury of measuring it, you can try it. So these are the things I believe work in holistic ways when you go out in nature and relax and practice some mindfulness, where within minutes there may be benefit, but over days, over months, we can measure it in several ways. I hope I answered that very beautiful question, but I'll try to bring some more slides next time to answer it better also. Let's see. I think there are more questions than I'm answering.
Yes, one of your students has her hand up.
Let me finish these questions because they're
Okay.
typed up, then we'll come back. We still
Okay.
have plenty of time. What are the cancer preventive substances? So I think these are the same cancer preventive substances that we talked about. What are specific places to find mindfulness practices? Our 8-week program is on this, our self-inquiry based cardiometabolic resilience course that we did in January and February. I'll share that link with Jennifer. Our website has it all these links. But some people mentioned last week also that the highlifejourney.org is not easy to even get registered into it. I'm so sorry for the challenges some people have been experiencing. I'm working with the technical team in India. They may be here in today's meeting. I don't know if Karthik is here. But anyway, we'll work on it and update you on that. But we'll give you the 8-week hour program. And beyond that, what good material there is on mindfulness, I'll definitely look that up also and come back with some specific answers. My very good friend, Lynn Rossi, she worked here for, I think, 30 years at the University of Missouri. She's a psychologist. I'll put her material also. She has a book called Mindful Eating. She wrote a book on that, and she's been part of our program in 2015, 2016. So she does a beautiful work on mindfulness through eating. She teaches that. Mindfulness-based stress reduction, there are some beautiful books. I used to have some of those too, so I'll give some references for that. How does Siddha and Ayurveda approach differ? Siddha is much older, but Siddha and Ayurveda are very ancient. We don't have to worry about which is older or what, but Ayurveda is using herbs to heal. Siddha does very similar to Ayurveda, and Siddha doctors, that's what they use for the most part. They use a lot of natural therapies, but they also have heavy metal therapies like for cancer and other serious diseases. They use several things, but I'm not a Siddha doctor. I'm not an expert. The reason we use Siddha self-inquiry is I believe majority of the Siddha teaching for the last 5,000 years has been to encourage self-inquiry. To the point, I believe they treated illness so that people can get healthy enough to practice self-inquiry. I believe they were so happy in their life that they wanted people to experience that deeper happiness. So that's what the entire Siddha system has been. Self-inquiry is such a huge aspect of, I would say 70 to 80% of Siddha has been that self-inquiry or finding freedom within ourselves. So that's what I personally take from my review of the literature on Siddha. And we have a Siddha traditional practitioner, Dr. Anbu Ganapati, who I've invited to January and February series. So he would talk a lot in that, and those recordings, if you get a chance, you will understand his direct experience of aging and mindfulness and other things. But I've invited him to this series also. If he's able to join next week, that will be nice. I'll try to invite him again. He's based in Chennai, India. So next question is, in an effort to increase fruits and vegetables in my diet, I have signed up for a weekly box from Root Cellar in Colombia that curates local farm fresh food. So if it's local, then Becca is actually helping the environment also at the same time, instead of just going and picking it up in a huge store, I would think. I believe the food tastes better and has been very successful in increasing more fruits and vegetables in my diet. So we all need to give a big hand to Becca for actually implementing everything that we talked about in that 2 sentences. Congratulations, Becca. Would you be able to talk a few minutes to us? You'll have to unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I just wanted to introduce myself. My name's Becca. I am 47 and have just recently been diagnosed with heart failure, and it's directly related to my weight. So beginning to implement a lot of changes that are necessary for my health and for my family. So one of the things I have been trying to do is, obviously looking at diet, which I am finding much easier to do than smiling 20 times an hour every 3 minutes. But diet is something that I can control, I feel like, a lot easier. And so and I'm trying to find things that are successful for me. So one of those is signing up for a local co-op that does food distribution from local farmers. And I just signed up for the fruits and vegetables to try to stay away from the meat and dairy. But I have found it to be pretty successful, actually, in being able to introduce some different foods into my diet, and definitely more fruits and vegetables into my diet. So I know Root Cellar is in Colombia for anybody who's local, but I'm sure these are all over and are available probably anywhere, at least in the U.S. But it's something different, and it's something to get excited about, you know, each Friday when I pick it up. So.
Dr.
Oh,
Chakalinga.
I'm the
you're-
one who's on mute. Becca, thanks so much for sharing your thoughts. You are saying that smiling is still hard for you?
I do feel like smiling every 3 minutes is a struggle for me, to be honest. I tend to be a little bit more of a list person, and you know, when you said smile 20 times in an hour, of course I'm immediately breaking that down into, you know, that means it was smile every 3 minutes, and it becomes very structured and not fun.
Sure. See, I can give you some tips on that.
I do find sometimes I can go pretty long stretches.
So
Yes, please.
there are so many ways that you are doing what I was hoping you would do in that smiling itself. I'll tell you why. Because as children, we all smiled 40 times an hour. All of us did. That's what science is saying. Then somewhere between 8 and 15, we became serious with life. And then we smile about 1 or 2 times an hour. That's all the average adults are doing. So from the average adult, I'm asking you to do 10 times more. But from who we were as children, I'm still only asking only half of that. So that's the thing on that. The other thing is, my dad, if he shows up, he'll say, Anand, don't ask anybody to keep smiling. It's so silly, he will say. But the truth is, it works. My dad is a cardiologist too. And he inspired me to become a cardiologist. The reason I ask people to smile is I believe we have to find something to be connected with and grateful for. Otherwise, this life is so distracting and stressful. And you might have taken me too literally, Becca. That's what it is. Many people hear me and then say, Doc, I'll figure it out on my terms. You're being too specific on it. You don't have to be. As long as your attention is towards finding something that is connecting optimistically with and gratefully with, that's perfectly fine. And I've come across people who are able to smile for the entire hour. So it doesn't have to be 20 smiles. That one smile can be there all through the hour. There are people who are that optimistic also. And we are moving in that journey towards finding the best version of ourselves for every day. That is what is that self-inquiry. And when you're eating right, it's going to help you do it even better because of the numerous healthy micronutrients in plant-based options. That also the lesser toxins that come from sugar-added substances and what is that? High fructose corn syrup, all these highly sugary things, as well as chemicals in red meat. All these things, when we minimize itself, our mind clears up as well. And then we drink more water. That is excellent. So all these things are only going to make you more and more optimistic. But I wouldn't want you to practice the diet alone and give away the mind, because the mind is the one that will really give you the confidence you're on the correct path 2 months, 2 years, 20 years down the road. That's why we want to work with the mind being the base. And I think you're very much doing it too. You don't have to worry about smiling 20 times. It is out of our gratitude. And see, you're manifesting it in different ways. That's how I look at it. And today, when you made the choice to come and talk about your health and share it with 100 other people, that itself is your way of caring for our community. So you should be so proud. And we are all genuinely appreciative of your efforts. Thanks so much, Becca. Anybody else? After her, there are some more comments. Would you like to say anything else, Becca?
No, that's okay.
Are there foods that decrease cortisol and adrenaline in the bloodstream? This is amazing questions. So let's first answer that question before I even go further. The smiling reduces both the cortisol and the adrenaline. That's so direct effect. When we take a moment to breathe out, my cortisol and adrenaline level went down just in that last second when I took an extra second to breathe out. That's all we did. Next time we'll practice some breathing techniques. But then the question of which food brings it down? The best food may be no food. This is what I personally believe in the last 4 years. If your cortisol is high and your adrenaline in the blood is high, the healthiest food may be putting no food in for 8 hours, 12 hours, 20 hours if you can. But if you're healthy otherwise, and you have normal weight and you cannot just like that go on without food, then the healthiest foods to put in the body will again end up being vegetables, more vegetables, then fruits and nuts. Walnut especially is considered the most heart healthy nut. And then comes the unhealthy foods. When you go up, they increase through several long-term mechanisms, more weight on our body, then they are increasing our cortisol and adrenaline. Not directly though. Food does not directly affect cortisol and adrenaline levels. Make sense? The healthy foods have a chance of lowering it though. Olive oil contains oleic acid. I thought this was a heart healthy fatty acid. Yes, it is. That's the answer. But still, oil is fat. So if we are on the heavier side and trying to lose weight, I would definitely request you to minimize all oils. That would have more benefit. Okay. And then when we do need some oil, I would, at my home, we have extra virgin olive oil. So we use it, but we don't add oil to be healthier. Does it make sense? How much does root cellar cost? Do you want to answer this, Becca? Do you see the questions also? How much does root cellar cost? Do they deliver? Smiling and laughing is much easier when I'm with people. This is a very important thing. I'm going to add only one more word. I'm smiling and laughing when I'm with the right people. Because even if it's a movie, if I'm watching with somebody, I've seen movies like this, then you're not going to enjoy it. You have to go there with a sense of wonder and amazement, then that movie will sound good. So otherwise, the best thing is what I have here. An empty seat. An empty seat is much better than a negative person who's your friend trying to pull you down. So that's a very beautiful thing though. Our joy and laughter is multiplied several fold when we are with our friends and family and people we trust. That's a beautiful thing. It feels strange doing it alone. Doing it alone, you can do it as meditation, but when you do it with friends and family, you tell them, I'm happy because I'm choosing to be happy, and they will also celebrate life with you. Becca, do you want to answer the first part of the question? How much does root cellar cost? Do they deliver?
So I do think they deliver. I don't know if they have a delivery fee. It's usually just for the fruits and vegetable box is $35 a week for about 8 to 12 items. I mean, it's not most cost effective, but it's something that I enjoy getting. I look forward to getting and then implementing this into my weekly meals. So, you know, you can go, I think I posted on the chat, the website. I don't have any ties to the company. This is not a sales pitch, but they're one company in Colombia that I found that I thought was pretty neat.
Thanks so much. So I think we are done with all the questions on the chat, so we can open it up for some more direct discussions.
I wanted to say that I read some research that showed that if you held a pencil in your mouth, it engaged the same muscles as smiling, and it would really improve your mood.
See, I can hold this same pen in my mouth like this. You saw me there, right? Now I'm holding it like this. So when this is actually stressful, whereas this is empowering, makes us want to become to the core of that consciousness that we talked about, creativity and gratitude. So there is so much, gives us access to that level of happiness, whereas this one closes off the subconscious. So We don't have to hold a pencil to our mouth all the time. Instead of that, that's why I request people to just smile. And when we smile, we find our logical mind wants to give a reason for everything. So if I'm smiling, then I say, okay, there must be some reason. And then I find something around me to justify why I'm smiling. That's great. So whatever it is, whether it's something great that happened or something we accept as positive, it doesn't matter. The smiling is great. And that's you don't have to smile outside. If you're smiling inside, that's perfectly fine. You may be in a circumstance where it's not possible to smile or it's not socially appropriate. That's perfectly fine. You stay grateful. That's all I'm saying by smile 20 times an hour. Excellent, Susan.
But I wanted to say I was working at a job that was really hard. Emotionally, it was a very toxic environment. So when I would drive to work, I would hold a pencil in my mouth, and it really helped my mood. So for whoever said it's hard to smile when you're by yourself, that's kind of a cheat that you can get into, and do that if you want. And I also do Root Cellar, and they do deliver. I think it's a $5 fee for delivery, but the other advantage is, they work with farms where there's no or very low pesticide use. So, you're getting food that's cleaner than you would get in commercial grocery stores.
Excellent. People who haven't spoken to us so far, please unmute yourself, share your thoughts, your ideas. We have only a few more minutes. My request to all our friends is to find ways of self-inquiry. There are 1,000 ways around your neighborhood, in your family, in your work circles, in your sports, or in your golfing, where you can connect with people in slightly different ways, because self-inquiry is just paying more attention. That's all is self-inquiry. And for my heart patients, my focus has been on hunger gratitude, which is being hungry a little bit, if possible, every day while we are still smiling. That's what we call it, hunger gratitude experience. And that's our way of requesting our heart patients to learn intuitively how to reduce food intake and get healthier. But I would love to hear your thoughts on what you're trying over the next couple of weeks. So this next 7 days, try 1 or 2 things every day. That's somewhat outside your usual thing. Say, for instance, if there's a little drizzle tonight and you're at home and comfortable, nothing much else to do, if you don't mind going out and experiencing the raindrops in your skin, that's a beautiful experience of nature. So that I'm not even going to count how many things we can do. We sit down and eat a grape for 1 minute in the 8-week course that we do. We can do that next week, maybe. Why don't we all bring some grapes to the table, since we talked about it? Next Monday, if you like grapes, or in case you have allergy to grapes, you can bring something else like nuts or whatever you enjoy, some fruit. And then we'll spend 1 minute having 1 grape. That's all is the experience. So we'll try it next Monday. Okay, I'll try to bring grapes to my office here and we'll have it together. And we practice actual meditation sometimes. I'm happy to do that today. At the end, in another 2 minutes, we'll answer questions and then we'll sort of close out with meditation. So what I'll do is we'll get you initiated and then we'll disappear. After 3 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, you wake up and you continue your day. How much more minutes you have, and then you have to go on with your day. Make sense? So any other quick questions? Yes, sir.
I have 2 dogs, and I call them therapy dogs because I can love them and just feel so much better when I'm cuddling my dogs.
Yeah, 20 years went by without me having a pet, but my 12-year-old daughter insisted during the pandemic, we need a pet there. So we now have a puppy and he's so fun. I just can't imagine why I wasted 20 years without having a puppy. So life is so good with him. And just now I met a patient who is in his late 70s, and he has a lot of heart health issues at 70s. It's not easy, but he's going to work starting today. And the only reason he's going to work is because of a service dog. That's is the only reason for him to fight for it. Otherwise, he has nobody else in the world to live for. So he's starting his work for a dog, to be there for his dog. So, I mean, they can be so powerful. I'm so glad you shared that with us. Thank you, sir. Any other quick thoughts? People who haven't spoken at all so far? So next Monday, 1 grape is my request. Maybe bring 2 or 3, but at least 1 we need. And now we'll close off the next 3 minutes. For any last quick questions? No? People who have never tried meditation. Anybody? Okay. So we have some people raising their hands. Thank my mom for joining this, says Jan. Make it extra special for us. Amma, do you want to say hello to our group again? And
Hello.
please,
Hello. I'm so happy, Anand. You talked so nicely, and I saw you having some problem with your throat.
having
you're
a
in-
middle school kid at home, they get all the infections in the world. So I try to dodge some, but some still come through.
Anyway, very nice, Anand. Your discourse was very, very, very nice.
So nice you joined, Ma.
All the best to you.
So I don't know if you're seeing the text. I'm going to read it, Ma. So there,
Yeah.
Jen is saying, thank your mom for joining us for this extra special. And please tell her how appreciative we are to her for raising such a wonderful, helpful person, doing such good, so much good for so many. Thanks so much.
Anand, I'm
Jen. This
so
means
proud
the
of
world
you.
to both me, and more than me, it means the world to my mom. Thanks so much, Jen.
I'm proud of you, Anand. And I'm so proud of all your associates there in this group.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
So we'll get into this meditation. So
Yeah.
because we are talking about gratitude, that's what we will meditate on. Okay. So connect with the first, let us sit back as much as we can in our chair. See, I'm going back in my chair. So let's sit back as far back in the chair as you can comfortably sit. And don't let the head rest anywhere. Let the head be just vertical and just sit with your head up. And next thing is feel your feet on the ground, relax your feet. And then relax your shoulders. Feel relaxation in the belly and in your chest. Relax your neck. That is the best thing. Just a little relaxation. Then you'll feel the whole body is relaxed. You can relax your face. Feel the breath in your nose. Come in and go out. Let us connect with something that is directly related to us, something that we are so grateful for. It can be just the air that we breathe, or it can be just being alive in this pandemic. It can be our grandchild. It can be our puppy at home. It can be anything. Just feel that gratitude. You'll feel it not only as a thought, you'll also feel it as a warmth in your chest. So let that gratitude stay with us for the next 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then we'll go on with our day. And we can start meditation very soon. My request to you is every morning, wake up with that gratitude that we are experiencing today. It takes only 5 seconds to feel that warmth. It can be for something very specific or something general. And let that gratitude be the reason for that many smiles that you can bring to your hour. Okay, I request all of you to mute yourself. I'm going to mute myself too. And then 10 minutes, at least I will be here and with you. And then we can disperse. If you have to shut out and carry on with your day, no worries. But if you can stay around, you're most welcome. But we won't be talking anymore. So we are done with today's session. So nice to connect with all of you. I'm so grateful for this opportunity to be with you all today. Thanks so much.